Hi everyone, welcome to the 420 Smoke Room. Today we have Heath here. He is actually an admin in our Facebook support group that we have going on over there. It's a smoke sesh over there too. Hi Heath, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So, did you roll up a blunt yet, or what's your preference?
Well, actually, I do prefer blunts, but I have a bowl here we're going to smoke out of.
Alrighty. I literally just got done smoking my blunt, so I'm going to pause for a minute on a sesh. But I definitely got some questions for you while you're smoking.
Okay, then.
So what led you to cannabis? Do you have like any medical conditions, or like what led you down that little journey there?
Well, that's kind of a slippery slope story, but I was, honestly, I started smoking at the age of 11 years old.
Okay.
Very young, very young. And it was honestly, at first, it was just a bunch of friends. You know, we thought it was cool. And, it kind of stuck with me over life, because it helps me out with my pain and helps me out with, stress and my ADHD, my anxiety, and all that stuff. So.
Okay. So it keeps you balanced.
Yeah, it brings me peace.
Definitely, I can relate with that. So, you've definitely obviously noticed a change. That would be normally kind of what I would ask you at this point, but I totally can sense the change, because I know those battles. So,
Right.
At this point, do you do anything else for any of your medical issues, or are you just fully cannabis?
I'm all cannabis. Well, I smoke cigarettes, but that's not medical.
Right. So there's no pharmaceutical?
No pharmaceuticals at all.
Okay, that's where I'm at. I totally love that. So did you notice a difference from when you had pharmaceuticals and marijuana, how you felt to no pharmaceuticals with marijuana?
Well, absolutely, but I was also in a dark time of my life when I was taking pharmaceuticals. I was on other bad things, so big difference.
Oh, okay. So yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad that those aren't any more issues for you. Definitely. So, would you say though that what led you down the pharmaceutical path? And then what kind of led you
like I said, I did have ADHD, and I still suffer from it time to time when I don't have my weed, and anxiety I still suffer from, even with weed sometimes. So I had been prescribed ADHD medicine, anxiety medicine. I also had stomach problems, and so that was another thing that I smoked weed for, being another thing that I got pharmaceutical medicine for.
So what determined, like, what in your life happened that you were like, yeah, I don't want the pharmaceuticals no more?
They made everything worse.
And you could tell. How long did it take you to tell, like, the difference?
Well, for me, there was certain indicators, like there was this medicine I took called amitriptyline.
Oh, I've taken that, the little red pills.
It gave me nightmares.
Yes.
It was horrible.
What did they give it to you for, anxiety or pain?
I think it was anxiety, yeah.
Yeah, because they gave it to me for anxiety and pain, but it helped me with interstititis, which is a bladder disease. The amitriptyline also builds and thickens the bladder wall as well. It does a lot of different things more than just anxiety and stress. So if your body doesn't need all that extra stuff that it does, it's not a beneficial drug just for anxiety, in my personal opinion. You know what I mean? Because if you don't need a thicker bladder wall, that's going to cause bigger issues and more issues later. And then, urinary issues or kidney issues when you're breaking it down. There's a lot at play. So if they change the elements in your body, like one medication does 5, 6, 7 things, that's a little weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely agree, because a lot of those medications, they will leave you a lot more scarred than when you started.
Yes, that's actually what I was trying to get to, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that was going to lead into, like, did you notice that effect for you, and what were your scars when you left pharmaceuticals?
I did, actually. They made my stomach problems worse. Like I said, the nightmares. They made me have severe symptoms of restless leg symptom and restlessness, couldn't sleep. It made my insomnia worse. So, yeah.
Okay. And so marijuana, I know marijuana does a lot of things, but marijuana is a single solid, like one item. So
Yep.
imagine like, I know pharmaceuticals do multiple things, but like if pharmaceutical companies, if you're adding 5, 6 pills a day, or 10 pills a day, or 15 pills a day, or this pill 3 times a day, this pill 2 times a day, like, you're adding obviously a lot of pills per day based on their regimens. That's heavy, because if it does multiple things, marijuana does multiple things. So it's like, if I can get rid of 5, 10, 15 pills for the marijuana, why wouldn't somebody want to do that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, because it's a money thing.
Well, I want to hear your opinion on that. Elaborate a little more.
Well, see, the pharmaceutical companies, they've had a strong hold on medicine for a long time, and they don't allow holistic, natural medicine to be, abundant.
Okay. And by abundant, I know what that means. That means a large quantity or a big amount. And
Yes.
where you're located, is it legal? If it's not, then don't say where you're from. But if it is,
Yes, it's recreational. Yes, it's recreational. I'm in Illinois.
Okay.
And we have good weed down here. That's all I can say.
Okay, so there is an abundant supply around where you're at, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now let's get to the other side. Is that abundant amount feasible? Is the price okay? Is it easy for you to get with wages?
Well, see, now when you add wages in and you add the living, problems that people in Illinois are having, well, not everybody can afford it, but it is a thing that people still do break themselves and get.
Yes. Hang on. Sorry, Ruby. What's going on, baby girl? You okay? I got a little puppy up here in the cage, and she was making some sounds. I was like, what's going on with her? So I do agree with that, though, but I think that it's the odd part is, yes, there's an abundant amount, but if you're in a low economy area, it should be feasible to those areas. That's the people you're serving.
Yeah.
Otherwise the people you're serving are only going broker while trying to maintain for their medical use. If I feel like there should be some form of medical discount. I know, like here in Michigan, if you have your medical card compared to just a recreational, there is a price difference based on the taxes, but it's not a large enough difference. Like if this is medication that we're replacing for like 5, 10, 15 pills a day, and normally the insurance would pay for those, so the other ways were free but not as healthy, there should be a program or ways that, people who just, not everyone has cancer. And if you have cancer, there's lots of programs out there where you can get medical marijuana handed to you monthly and the insurance company pays. So why can't they do that for other diseases that are disabled? They might not be to the level of cancer, but they're still fixing them and curing them to the same way. So I don't understand, if we can give it like for free to cannabis patients, or to cancer patients, we can give cannabis, then why can't we to other patients? That's something I really want to do a little more research on and figure out a little more answers on that. Like, what's up?
Well, first off, there's a lot of paperwork behind that, and then there's a lot of money that has to be put behind that, and then there's a lot of the people with that money that have to be on board with that type of thing.
Well, the pharmaceutical company wants their way in. That is literally the open door. Like, that is the invite. Would you not personally, in your economy and the situations for your own personal situations, would you prefer to get marijuana A from the dispensary, or B, go into the same dispensary and use your Medicaid card to pay for your order and get X amount monthly? And if you would choose to go over, then you pay cash out of your pocket, which is the same as a co-fee. Or each time you go in, you pay a co-fee on X a quantity. You know what I mean? Like, there is a way in the door if the pharmaceutical company was to actually, like, do the paperwork, like you said, behind it. They do it for all the other prescriptions. There's way more money in marijuana than there is in the pills, because so many people decided, screw the pills, I'd rather pay. And it's not, the pharmaceutical company ain't the one getting paid. Obviously, it's the dispensaries. So, there definitely needs to be a way that somehow we can get like people with insurance a quantity a month, like a certain amount, like an ounce a month. It doesn't have to be, a pound. Like, you know what I mean? Just a decent amount to where they could moderate it and have, a joint per day or something, like that for people who are sick or disabled or, have certain long-term diseases, where the pills aren't obviously going to do everything for. There's got to be ways, because I know that there's like all these farms right now that these big companies are donating their stuff to, but most of it goes to cancer patients, and it's the only program. And if there was a way to like duplicate that same program or expand it, the horizons would be even greater for the cannabis, the numbers of what it would bring in, financially and physically.
Right.
And then there would be an abundant amount.
I agree completely with that, and I think that, the only problem with that is there's just not enough of the big money titans that want to see free stuff like that happen.
True, but I also think that it has to do with the fact that if the insurance company did that, it would speed up the process of making it legal across the map. And I think that would piss off a lot of states that don't want it legal across the map. And I think the pharmaceutical company is playing it neutral. But I can guarantee you they're building some plan. And that at the end of this, when we get down to like the last few states determining whether they're going to be legal or not, and we're like, 3 to 5 states away from the whole United States being legal to an extent, I definitely see the cannabis, the pharmaceutical company jumping into the cannabis industry somehow. They already do pills that have certain cannabis. They already have their foot in the door a certain way. I guarantee that they're going to expand that further once it's more across the map. They would have no choice not to. Otherwise, it's kind of going to be like, they're going to be like the old Blockbuster, out with the old.
Yeah, they'll fall behind.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, my husband was calling in. Let me text. I'll call right back. I don't think he knows I'm doing a podcast. This is what happens when you're live. But yeah, so do you have any thoughts though on like any other changes that you think would help the cannabis community?
Yeah, I think I have a couple things I could add to that. First off is probably like the knowledge about it, the information about it, the effects that it has on different people with different conditions. Like if you have schizophrenia, you should probably stay away from it.
Definitely.
Or stay away from certain strains. There are medical things that surround cannabis that are negative as well, and there needs to be information on these things. But obviously, as for the positive, there needs to be more information on that as well. Like, what are the positive benefits of people who have anxiety and
depression? I do know that some people with schizophrenia that I personally know have consumed marijuana for long periods of their life, and they were perfectly fine. Then I know people that don't, and I know people that have been on medication, off medication. It just depends on their version. I think people with more like night terrors or night issues with schizophrenia, where they're like daily, every night issues, those people that are high and severe schizophrenia, possibly no. But some other people that have milder cases or have their cases under control or managed or self-managed, I've seen a lot of people with schizophrenia actually use marijuana and it helps them. So
yeah, me.
You said you too?
Yeah, I'm self-managed.
Through marijuana or through like?
Through me, but marijuana helps because it keeps me balanced in my natural state of chemical balance.
Yeah. So see, okay. So I did agree with everything else you said, but the schizophrenia one, I've actually seen really good results. And at first I was like, yeah, and I'm like, wait. I said yeah, but I went like, nah. And so like, let me just put that out there because, like I said, I just smoked, so I'm like, I was agreeing, but like I was like processing as I was saying yes. But schizophrenia, I actually really feel like we do need a lot more science on, but it's been so long with the FDA with like their medications for that I don't think that would be one of their first choosings. I definitely think that they would go more or less like with a gastroparesis or intercystitis or endometriosis or,
Those
any
stuff they
bone
cross.
disease or pain disease or eye glaucoma
Yeah.
issues, anything close in that family or cousins of those.
Isn't it good
Maybe,
for nerve damage?
yeah, so all of those these diseases that I actually just named have nerve damage in it. Um, and I really feel like because we have like we have receptors in our body for THC and marijuana. I feel like that is why it helps with the nerves because we have our own open door and gateway with the receptors.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that we have the receptors in our body naturally tells us something that it's meant to be there.
Agreed. Like it's a natural entity and it's supposed to be there because like
Yeah,
we
natural
don't.
part of us.
Yeah, it's meant to be like make us whole in a way. I know that sounds crazy, but yeah, because we don't have receptors for morphine, narcos, benzines.
Right.
No,
That's why there's such an adverse effect.
right. We don't have receptors for any of those. They have to go through a breakdown process, and then they affect each person differently based on the breakdown process. Where we actually have receptors for CBD and THC that your body just naturally does what it's supposed to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely think that we need a lot more science in it, but as it becomes legal across all the states, I definitely feel like that's where the pharmaceutical company will come in to play because they're the ones that back up the science part with most of their testings. And without the pharmaceutical company, we won't get those answers that we're all looking for at times because they study all these diseases and do all these things. So it's so much easier for the pharmaceutical company to come up with these answers or will help come up with the answers per se, not them specifically, but aid and assist in that manner. But yeah, so at this point, is your whole family a cannabis family, or do you?
No, you see, you got me, you got my sister. My dad will smoke time to time, but he works a job, so he don't smoke all the time. And my mom, she likes the edibles and she likes, stuff like that, but she don't do that as much because she also works a job. So
Right, I'm definitely interested in edibles. I feel like edibles affect my body differently. What about you?
oh yeah, absolutely, in a whole different way.
Would describe how an edible has affected you.
Well, okay, so the difference between how it's going to affect me is going to be depending on how it's made. Like a dispensary quality edible is completely different from a non-dispensary quality, which is not saying that the non-dispensary quality is any less potent because it could be more for all you know.
Correct.
Because it's all about what they put into it and if they balance the amounts. And obviously, if you're not a dispensary, you don't go by regulation standards, it's not going to be balanced anyway. So the more potent one, I tend to feel very stuck, mild hallucinations. Yeah, mild hallucinations. And then the ones that are not that potent, probably just really just positive vibe. Just able to still function, but not as stuck, not as heavy.
Right, like the ones from the dispensary that aren't as potent. They're made to moderate because the whole goal of the day is not to get so high that you're hallucinating. The goal is to be able to go to work and function a normal 9 to 5 while being medicated. So the dispensary levels are kind of they're in moderate portions and they kind of divide them in bite sizes. So whenever you feel like your medication's wearing off, you take another one, and it's just enough to keep you flowing through the workday type of thing. But if you have at-home ones where generally at home, everyone is making them because they feel like, oh, the dispensary ones aren't strong enough. So you got like those people that are like, I need stronger. And they'll go like super heavy on it. And the next thing you know, everyone's tripping balls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, what the heck happened here? Whoa. Was that from the cookie?
I was very intoxicated. I was also on moonshine.
Yeah, so some edibles when you're mixing liquor because they're going in your same body, like your actual stomach before they process, the effect is different. And moonshine is the strongest out of all liquors. So, and some strong edibles too. Oh yeah, you're messed up.
I was litty.
For sure. So definitely, what would be the craziest well, I don't know, the craziest high you've ever had, let's just say. Let's ask that question.
I would probably say, you mean from cannabis, of course, yes.
Of course.
Okay. I've been out there before.
No, of course, cannabis.
Let's not talk about those times. Yeah,
we're at the 420 smoke room, so we're going to keep that cannabis related.
Cannabis related only. Gotcha. All right. Let me think. I would say... Yeah,
it could be butter. It could be edibles. It could be any form of THC. It could be the moon rocks. It could be wax. It could be the dabs. All of the forms of marijuana.
I think there was one time I hit my bong. It was like this $200 bong, and I ripped it, filled it all the way up. It had like these 4 like chambers. People called it the rocket ship, and it had propellers in each chamber. And and I filled it all the way up. I was trying to show off to my girlfriend at the time, and I ended up puking all over the place. And I was still very ripped after. So.
Yeah, you end up choking until you vomited. You hit that shit so hard.
I hit it so hard because it got a little stagnant because it's such a big bong.
Yeah, I'll give it to you.
As you're filling it up, some of the smoke is still sitting there stagnant. So, I ripped it all the way through, and it was like, oh, no, it didn't agree.
I'll give it to you. I've seen you in our Facebook group when you go live sometimes and do the live segments. You go, do a dab or a hit here and there. I cannot dab like that. My lungs are not set for that shit. The bongs, I swear to God, I feel like I don't smoke out of them right. And the bowls, I can never get the choke right, even though I do or don't. But, I really suck unless they're small handheld ones. Furthermore than that, I tried all that glassware. I went all out. I did the whole gas mask. Yeah, that is not for me. I'm just a simple
blunt girl. Did you try the King
girl.
Palms yet?
Did I try what?
The King Palm wraps that you stuff.
Oh, I've done a lot of different wraps, but most of the flavor ones give me upset stomachs or make me nauseous or give me headaches. I honestly just stick with Silver Games or Diamond Games or Silver Optimas. Furthermore than that, I really don't linger off. And I take the whole outer layer off, so it's no leaf on it. It's just the actual, brown layer. So, yeah, that way I'm not smoking as much because I don't smoke cigarettes. So I feel like all that tobacco stuff on the outside as well. I don't need all that.
Well, yeah, no, of course not.
So I take all that off, all the leaves and stuff.
Why don't you get the hemp wraps?
Because they're too moist then, and then the weed rips, and then I'm just mad at the blunt, and I'm fighting it.
You gotta double wrap it then.
Yeah, so it kind of defeats the whole taking a layer off thing if I'm just gonna smoke 2 now.
Yeah, I guess, but it's hemp wrap though.
True. But I don't know. I just like the way I like a little bit of tobacco, the wrap, just a little, not enough to taste. I guess.
The truth comes out.
Yeah, because I'm not a big joint smoker either, and I think that's why. Because I just need a little. I've grown up smoking blunts, so it's kind of like if you grow up smoking cigarettes or Newports and you switch, the flavor just tastes so different. You're like. But I tried to simmer down and take some layers off.
Right. Just trying to wean back.
Yeah. But I'm not going to just walk away.
Yeah. You don't want to do the full jump. You just want to halfway jump.
I've thought about it, but then when I smoke in a joint, I'm like, fuck that shit. Where's the blunt? Roll up a blunt, please.
I love blunts too. I really do. I always have. I like the White Owls. I like the Dutch Masters. I like the Backwoods, the King Palms, what's the other ones? The Swishers, obviously. The games.
Yeah, I'm a game girl. I like games. So.
What's the other one? The 4Ks. 4Ks.
How is your doggy doing?
Both of my dogs are doing great. The one that had seizures.
Okay, that was the one I was asking about.
He's been acting weird, he's been making these weird noises, but he's good. He's alive. He's happy still. He jumps up and down when I come near him. Okay.
Awesome. That's good news. I hadn't really heard back, and I was wondering. I was like, and I just randomly had a high thought, and I'm like, well, I'm about to ask.
Yeah, I I was worried about him, like insanely worried.
I know, I
I know
recall.
every neighbor within a 2-block radius heard me screaming, Jasper!
Yeah,
I
that's
thought,
not
I
that's
thought he was gonna
sad.
die on me.
It was sad. I remember you telling me. For those of you who don't know, his dog had some medical issues that came up, and I believe she had a seizure. And didn't I think that was it? But then I kind of thought there was something else going on.
Yeah, well, what it was is once he had a seizure, he has to be watched. You know, you have to monitor him because he becomes weak, and also when he's outside, if his body temperature drops too low, he could go into a seizure as well. Oh,
Okay.
my dad's here.
Okay.
Hold
So
on.
you got
One
him monitored,
second.
right? All right. Well, if you gotta go, I know you said your dad's here and stuff. We can wrap it up, and if you want, we can. I'll catch you tomorrow or another day.
Absolutely, that sounds great. You have a nice day.
All right. You have a nice night. Thanks for joining us at the 420 Smoke Room. I'll be airing this to the platforms, and I will see you another day.
Yes,
Bye.
ma'am. Bye.